Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to MoreLegends.com. In this video we are going to tell you about the changes made to runes in patch 8.23 and specifically the extra runes that were added with it. You no longer get bonus stats when you choose your rune paths, and instead get to choose them by yourself. The rune system interface now has 3 extra rows you can set up. Every row has 3 choices you can pick from. In this video you are going to find out which of the new runes are best to have for marksmen, what matchups and situations can make you want to change them, and many other things. So without further ado guys, let's get right to it. First things first, the first row, attack. The first rune here is an adaptive force rune, which will either give you 6 attack damage or 10 ability power. Since most of the marksmen you are going to play heavily rely on the attack speed, this rune will not appear on your page all that often. However, it still has its niche. Bonus damage is very useful for burst damage champions, like Lethality Varus and Misfortune, or say Jhin and Ezreal. Jhin and Ezreal rely on short trades where they just make one attack or use one spell and then retreat. You don't need attack speed for that, do you? Next up, there is an attack speed rune. This is the most basic choice for most of the marksmen, which shouldn't be surprising at all. After all, most of their damage comes from their basic attacks. We will not name all of the champions who benefit from this rune, however we will note that there is no real difference between the kind of marksman it is, be it an early game beast like Lucian or the late game monsters like Vayne or Kai'Sa. In both cases, attack speed will be a lot more favorable. The third rune in this row is cooldown reduction bonus. This is by far the rarest choice you'll see. None of the marksmen can find this one useful, however this rune will fit the champions who don't need a lot of damage early and who will rely on their late game spellcasting to be effective. Say bot lane Karthus, who's got very popular with the changes made to the Dark Harvest Keystone. He can deal enough damage early as it is, so that 10 bonus ability power doesn't change too much. However, having his spells cool down faster can make it easier for him to score his kills. Now let's get to the next row of runes, Flex. This one gives you both attack and defense options, but whereas the first choice you've made relied on who you're going to play, this one will rely on who you're going to play against. The first rune here is an adaptive force rune, which will either give you 6 attack damage or 10 ability power, pretty much the same as it was in the first row. This rune is picked 99% of the time for most of the bot lane marksmen. It doesn't really matter whether you got the attack damage or attack speed in the first row. However, there are certain cases where you can trade this early damage for an increased amount of durability during the laning phase. And we're gonna talk about that a bit later on in this review. Next up, there are 2 damage resistance runes you can choose from. One gives you armor and the other gives you magic resistance. The choice of these depends on the situation you are going to find yourself in. These runes can very rarely be seen picked for marksmen, so let's take a look at a few examples. Imagine yourself playing in a tough matchup, say Sivir against Draven. You've got no chance of actually winning the trades, so you might really want to pick up Doran's shield and an extra armor rune. This way you'll increase your laning phase durability by a huge margin. Another good example is you playing against 2 mages, say Viktar Veigar or Karthus Veigar. Those guys make it mandatory for you to have extra magic resistance. They've got tons upon tons of poking damage, whereas a normal marksman without their core items will not be able to do much against it. In other words, having extra damage will not do you any good, while the extra damage resistance will make it easier for you to reach those actually important items. It's generally a good idea to have more resistance when you are planning to trade a lot. Having more effective health will let you sustain yourself a little easier. Okay, now let's repeat this part. In the second row, you might want to have bonus damage rune most of the time, except for the very tough matchups or the times when you plan to trade a lot early on. In this case, you are sacrificing a portion of your damage in order to get an easier and more reliable access to your core items later on. The choice between armor and magic resistance should be made according to the kind of damage the enemy bot lane is going to deal. The third, defense row, only has defensive options in it. The first one of them is a scaling health bonus rune. This is the most common rune for a bot lane marksman out there, and that's because most of your bot lane opponents will be dealing a mix of physical and magic damage. Bonus health rune will provide you with more effective health against mixed types of damage than bonus armor and bonus magic resistance runes will provide separately. Let's imagine a simple example. Imagine Lucian facing a Jinx or Fiddlesticks matchup. At level 3, he might want to start a fight, but he doesn't want to die. At level 3, he'll have 698 points of health, 32 points of armor and 31 of magic resistance. With the health rune, he will have 953 effective health against the physical damage and 946 effective health against magic damage. With the armor rune, he'll have slightly more effective health against the physical damage, but will have a lot less effective health against magic damage. And just so you know, the value of the bonus health rune will only grow with every level. So again, if you know you are going to be taking mixed damage from your lane opponents, the bonus health rune will be the best choice. The second and third runes in this row are bonus armor and bonus magic resistance. The logic behind picking these is the same as it was in the flex row. If you are facing magic damage dealers, go for the magic resistance. And if you are facing 2 physical damage dealers, say Jhin or Pyke, go for the bonus armor instead. Alright, now let's sum it all up. There are 4 main rune stat builds you'll be using in most of your matches. AS plus AP or AD plus HP. This is the most versatile build which can be used on most of the champions out there. If you're only starting to learn your champion and don't yet know the matchups, well, go for this build. You can't miss with this one. AS plus magic resistance or armor plus magic resistance or armor. This is the best build you're going to be using against tough matchups. Also, you can use this build in cases where the enemy bot lane has a fixed damage type. That is, either they go full AD or they go full AP. AP or AD plus AP or AD plus magic resistance or armor. This is the build for the marksmen who don't rely on their attack speed and mostly deal damage through spellcasting. We'll just know that there are very few champions like that. And finally, CDR plus AP or AD plus HP. This is a very rare build mostly used for bot lane Karthus, who is currently very popular in solo queue and uses New Dark Harvest to one-shot the entire enemy team with a single ultimate. This will be a good idea for LP grinding, by the way. So guys, that's it for now. We hope you have found this guide useful. Follow this simple advice and your rune page will always be as optimized as it can get. As always, thank you so much for watching this video and good luck in your solo queue.